When a person decides to conserve their energy, something changes, not only in their body, but also around them. The course of events begins to tilt in their favor. Small details become improvised. It's not magic, it's precision. Confinement adjusts the internal signal you emit. Energy stops dissipating and instead generates pressure. Quiet, focused, intentional. This force becomes alignment. You no longer need to beg for attention, recognition, or opportunities. You attract them, for you are now a source. The signal you radiate directly corresponds to the desired results. It's not about propagating a need. It's about being centered. It's about emitting a clear frequency to which the world responds. Part 1. The projected signal. Some men walk into a room, attract attention for a moment, and are quickly ignored. Others arrive silently without needing to speak, and the atmosphere crystallizes around them. It's not noise. It's not charm. It's a signal. It's a stable nervous system that doesn't go astray. It's a body that doesn't waste energy. Semen retention reconfigures that signal. Transform your physiology from an exhausted transmitter to a focused transmitter. The difference between the two is simple. One is noise, the other is command. It's not about speaking louder, but about being calibrated. When the body stops expending energy by release, it begins to store it. And stored energy always exerts gravity. The autonomic nervous system constantly communicates its state through subtle gestures, posture, gaze, and heart rate. Most men don't realize how transparent they are when they're exhausted. Shortness of breath, restless movements, a shaky voice. These are all signs of the same thing, need. But by practicing restraint, the nervous system rebalances. It no longer oscillates between tension and collapse. Instead, it remains stable, regulated, and consistent. The result is increased heart rate variability, a subtle but powerful indicator of internal control. High heart rate variability, HRV, is characteristic of special forces personnel, elite athletes, and stoic leaders. It's the body talking. Even when the mouth remains silent, this signal is self-explanatory. People don't consciously perceive it, but they respond to it. They adjust their tone of voice. They soften their gaze. They leave more space in the conversation than they do for others. It's pure instinct. Your nervous system tells them, I'm not shy. I'm not afraid. I'm not dependent on you. And in a world conditioned to avoid need, that neutrality becomes attractive, powerful, even disconcerting. Suddenly, they start offering you things you never asked for. It's not about manipulation, but about the trust their body places in you. This is how true presence is born. At the level below speech, energy doesn't lie. If you release it carelessly, this signal weakens. You may even try to express trust, but your eyes will blink excessively. Your spine will curve and your thoughts will betray you. When the flow is interrupted, first subtly and then gradually, its presence transforms the behavior of those around you. They become more respectful. They pay closer attention. They ask questions instead of interrupting. Not because you've changed your vocabulary, but because you've stopped wasting something far more precious. Withholding turns the nervous system into a weapon of immobility. And in a world dominated by noise, immobility prevails. People carry inexplicable tensions within them. Tired bodies, confused thoughts, weakened willpower. They don't realize they're living with an energy deficit. Every escape, every distraction, every shallow breath reduces the tension almost imperceptibly, until it becomes chronic. But the man who keeps the charge begins to reverse this decline. His breathing slows, his gaze stabilizes, his tone of voice strengthens. He stops chasing because he no longer needs to. This kind of man alters his own signal. And when the signal changes, life, people, moments, and consequences rearrange themselves around it. Part 2. Triggers. Some men walk into a room, catch a fleeting glance, and are quickly forgotten. Others enter without a word, and the entire atmosphere rearranges itself around them. It's not noise. It's not charm. It's a signal, a coherent nervous system, a body that doesn't waste energy. Semen retention alters this signal. It transforms the physiology from a depleted transmitter to a focused one. Here's the difference. One generates noise, the other transmits commands. It's not about turning up the volume. It's about being calibrated. When the body stops consuming energy through release, it begins to accumulate it. And pent-up energy always generates a gravitational pull. The autonomic nervous system constantly communicates its state through micro-expressions, posture, gaze, and pulse. Most men don't realize how transparent they become when they're exhausted. Shortness of breath, restless movements, a shaky voice, they all communicate the same message: need. But by practicing retention, the nervous system rebalances itself. It no longer oscillates between tension and collapse. Instead, it remains stable, though it self-regulates. The result is increased heart rate variability, a subtle but extremely powerful indicator of self-control. High heart rate variability, HRV, is characteristic of special forces personnel, elite athletes, and unwaveringly confident leaders. It is the language of the body, even when the mouth remains silent. This signal needs no explanation. People don't consciously perceive it, but they react to it. They change their tone, soften their gaze, give you more space in the conversation than others. It's pure instinct. Your nervous system is telling it, I'm not chaotic. I'm not afraid. I don't depend on you. In a world accustomed to avoiding signs of need, this neutrality becomes attractive, powerful, even uncomfortable. Suddenly, they begin to offer you things you never asked for. Not out of manipulation, but because their body trusts yours. This is how true presence is born. Beyond words, energy doesn't lie. When you carelessly empty yourself, the signal weakens. You can try to appear confident, but you'll blink too much, jump, and your thoughts will eventually betray you. When you stand firm, the current intensifies, subtly at first, then gradually and inexorably. Over time, your presence begins to transform the behavior of those around you. They become more respectful, listen more attentively, and ask questions instead of interrupting. And this doesn't happen because you've changed your vocabulary, but because you've stopped wasting something far more essential. Semen retention transforms the nervous system into a weapon of immobility, and in a deafening world, silence reigns. People carry invisible tensions within them, exhausted bodies, confused minds, weakened willpower. They don't realize they're living with an energy deficit. Every shock, every distraction, every shallow breath slowly reduces the tension until it becomes permanent. But the man who maintains his charge begins to reverse this process. His breathing deepens, his gaze stabilizes, the tone of his voice gains strength. He stops chasing because he no longer needs to. This type of man modifies his own signal, and when the signal changes, life, people, circumstances, and consequences begin to reorganize themselves around you. Section 3. Reactive circuits. The environment around you remains the same people, the same places, the same daily chaos. The difference is that your brain no longer automatically reacts to all of this. Most men spend their lives on the defensive. Every comment is perceived as a threat. Every delay becomes an insult. Every challenge is seen as evidence of incompetence. All of this is due to an exhausted, overstimulated, and weakened nervous system. But with semen retention, an unusual phenomenon occurs. Responsiveness begins to disappear. You don't shy away from shadows or friction. You learn to see things as they are, without the filter of emotional exhaustion. Clarity emerges, and your attention begins to filter through a brain structure called the reticular activating system. It's the filter that decides what enters your consciousness and what is rejected. When the system is saturated, it prioritizes threats and distractions. But in a state of high retention, this filter reorganizes itself. It begins to select signals related to strength, opportunity, and growth. You perceive different nuances in the same sentence. You hear the true tone instead of just noise. You notice the small advantage others have missed. That's why it feels like reality has shifted in your favor. It hasn't. You've simply tuned into the right frequency. Where you once saw rejection, you now see opportunity. Where you once saw insult, you now recognize insecurity. Where you once paralyzed yourself with discomfort, you now move forward with calculated aggression. Retention not only stores energy, but it also sharpens your ability to interpret the environment you're in. And interpretation is essential, because when your brain stops viewing every moment as a threat, you start using it as leverage. Not only do you survive more effectively, but you also play smarter. You listen more attentively, you react more calmly, you take more effective action, and the environment responds in kind. The universe hasn't suddenly become kinder. You've simply stopped blocking your access to it. The woman who previously seemed indifferent now shows curiosity. The opportunity that had eluded you becomes evident. The social signal you misread is now perfectly attuned. None of this is happening by chance. It's the result of a transformation. Your nervous system is no longer overwhelmed by excessive stimuli. You are calm, stable, and focused, and the world is responding to this, not because it owes you anything, but because it always has. You're just not able to notice. Ultimately, retention isn't just about control, it's about attunement. It's about aligning your body, mind, and presence so that the world automatically responds to your energy. This is true silent power, asking for nothing, but seeing everything around you shift in your favor. If you felt this message while watching, please comment below. I'm in phase. I want to see who truly understands and is ready to live at this level of presence and focus.